Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You're welcome to Newsroom on PTV World. My name is Umar Khalid Bhatt, and we are going to talk about the topics that are prevalent to this day. Of course, the first one is about the Prime Minister who addressed the media at the National Coordination Committee meeting, in which he said there's going to be a phased opening of the different industries in Pakistan beginning from a Saturday. Now, that's very important in this day and age because, as the Prime Minister has pointed out many a times in the past, that economically Pakistan needs to stand up on its feet, and for that all the segments of the society need to earn their livelihood. And it is in this same context that the Prime Minister has decided to open the different industries in a phased manner. We will be talking about that. Then, of course, is the Afghan government and the Taliban that are not coming up to the expectations. As you know, in February this year, there was a deal that was signed between the US and the Afghan Taliban, which would lead to the US slowly and steadily phasing out the number of troops that are there in Afghanistan, and of course as per certain conditions that were given by the Afghan Taliban. But the US Defense Secretary Mark Esper says that he is not at all satisfied either by the Afghan Taliban or by the Afghan government, which was not party to this signature, but nevertheless it is a very important party to this peace deal. And he said that there have been many incursions by the Afghan Taliban since the deal was signed. And where is it all going to lead to? Is there going to be a final peace deal and implementation of that peace deal? We'll try to decipher that aspect as well. And our last segment of the day is on the Indian allegations of infiltration across the line of control. This is something that our Foreign Minister, our Prime Minister have been saying since a long time, that the Indians will not let go of any opportunity to put the blame on Pakistan. As we very well know, whether it be the Pulwama incident or other incidents in the past, false flag operations that have happened in India in the past as well, it has always been the case that India has pointed the fingers on Pakistan. Is it, as we all know, to deliberately malign Pakistan, to malign Pakistan's reputation amongst the global community? The global community also needs to realize that it's very important in these days of the coronavirus pandemic that human rights abuses that are happening, whether they are in Indian occupied Kashmir or in other parts of India, when they target minorities such as Muslims, that all the world bodies, all the important countries need to take care of that, need to address this issue with India directly, and need to ensure that India does not continue in the same vein. We'll continue with our show, but after a short break. Stay tuned. You're watching Newsroom. I'm your host, Umar Khalid Bhatt, and we will be talking about our first segment of the day, that is on the National Coordination Committee, of course, after which Prime Minister Imran Khan addressed the media. We have a small package on that. Let's take you to the package, but we'd also like to introduce to you our guest, Shafiq Ahmed Saab, who's a journalist who's online with us, and we will be talking to him about the NCC, the different decisions that have been taken in the wake of the NCC that were told to the media.
Prime Minister Imran Khan announces to open ongoing coronavirus lockdown in phases from Saturday. Speaking after the meeting of National Coordination Committee, the Premier said all sectors and businesses need to follow standard operating procedure. The Prime Minister called upon the citizens to show utmost responsibility when the lockdown ends in order to avoid possibility of another lockdown. He said, "We have decided to ease restrictions in many sectors and decisions were taken in consultation with all provinces." Talking about the virus spread, he said there is a possibility of increase in coronavirus cases in future, but it is difficult to predict timing for the peak. However, the government is taking steps to control the pandemic. The National Command and Control Centre is assessing the situation on a daily basis. Pakistan records 38 new deaths caused by coronavirus and 1,523 new infections during the past 24 hours. The total confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the country have soared to 24,073.
You just watched a small package on the National Coordination Committee meeting that was presided over by the Prime Minister, and then you of course addressed the media to tell them about what kind of decisions had been taken in this meeting. We've been joined by Shafiq Ahmed Saab. Shafiq Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Shafiq Saab, how important are the decisions that have been taken as far as the slow phased out opening of different industries is concerned?
It's indeed a very, very good decision, though there was a pressure from the opposition parties, particularly from the Pakistan People's Party. They were putting pressure on the government that there should be a complete lockdown. And the Prime Minister and the PTI government officials were saying that, look, they cannot have the complete lockdown because there will be a big problem for those people who are under the poverty line, and the number of those people are more than 50 million in this country. So it was a very good decision taken by the government, though the curve, like the downward curve, has not yet been started. It is still going up. But the gradual start of the business activity in the country is very, very important. I really appreciate the smart lockdown because when I go to the market, find some groceries or buy some milk or some other food items, so the shops are open and they are observing the instruction or following the government instruction in the local market, which is very good. So I think that the gradually easing down the lockdown in the country is a very good step. Though I have one reservation, like I personally believe that the lockdown should be eased not from 9th of this month, but instead of 11th, because Saturday and Sunday are those 2 days when people have the holidays, complete holidays, so there is possibility of more gathering. So it should have been started from 11 of
All right,
May
Shafiq sir,
instead
we
of
talk
9.
about this gathering. Now, in this whole aspect of gathering of people, there's one very important aspect that the Prime Minister highlighted, and this is not the first time that he has highlighted it, is the responsibility that comes on the citizens as far as being careful is concerned in these days of the coronavirus. Do you really feel that people, whether it be in the cities, the big cities, or in the small towns, have understood the whole concept of social distancing, the whole concept of wearing masks or cleaning your hands or staying at a certain distance from other people?
Omar Saab, no, unfortunately, it is not the case. What I have seen, like in a big cities or in the capital of Pakistan, Islamabad, people are observing the social distances or people are not mixing with the people. But this is a very small part of the population who are following the government instruction. But if you talk to the people who are in the street, or if they are in Raja Bazar in Rawalpindi, or if they are in some densely populated area, the people are not taking that much care. And as for the rural area of Pakistan is concerned, definitely they are not following the instruction. They are to some extent following it, but not that strictly they are not following it.
What is the reason, Shafiq sir? Why do you feel that after so many weeks of this pandemic, having seen the number of casualties that it is around the world, in Pakistan as well, in different areas, whether it be Islamabad or other provinces, why don't people understand the grave consequences of this pandemic?
This is the problem of education, by the way. It's unfortunate. When there is a disease, when there is a pandemic, so we should follow the doctor's instructions. That we in Pakistan, instead of following the doctors, we follow the other people, and this is the problem when there is some religious issues. So we follow not the religious people, we follow other people. So I mean, this is the problem of the society. Number two, we have a little social issues, social taboos. Like what I know about my village, when somebody dies in the village, they have to attend the funeral prayers. And despite I told my relatives don't attend that, but living in a village, not following the village rules, that is difficult for the people who are living in the rural areas. So, but we are lucky in one sense. We are lucky in a sense that the casualty or the death ratio is quite low as compared to
that is what the Prime
Western
Minister
world.
has highlighted as well.
This is what we are when we are lucky, and we don't know because this coronavirus is a novel, it's a new virus. We have no idea, but gradually people believe when the hot weather or the summer starts, the full summer starts in the country, it will gradually die down. So we are hopeful, quite hopeful. The impact will be not that much, but
All
the
right.
social distancing will remain the problem. It will remain the issue because those who are from the elite class, from the educated class, they are following the government instruction, but the ordinary people, they are not following that much.
All right, you talked about social distancing. Let's talk about distancing as such. The Prime Minister also highlighted about the expatriates, the Pakistani expatriates, the 125,000 Pakistani expatriates that for the time being are in different countries across the world, and the different measures that, of course, the government has been doing and will continue doing to bring them back to Pakistan. How important is it, in your point of view, sir, to bring the stranded Pakistanis back? And how important is it also for them to understand, and for the countries that send them back to us, that the necessary protocols also be followed so that the coronavirus is not transmitted from those people to others?
You're talking to me, Batsa.
Yes, Shafiq Saab, I'm talking to
Yes,
you.
I agree. The problem is when there was a problem in Wuhan, where the pandemic started, and the Pakistani students were asking to return to Pakistan. The decision taken by the government at that time was very, very correct. Those people who did not return to Pakistan from Wuhan, it was a very good decision. I personally believe the number of people who are abroad, they are 125,000 people, which is
Yes.
a very huge number.
Exactly.
So I know that there is a protocol of compulsory quarantine the people in a local hotel in Islamabad, those who are coming from a foreign country, and they are carrying out medical tests. If those who are with a negative coronavirus, they are sending back to their home, or they are not being quarantined. But I personally believe, those people who are abroad, or those who are stuck in other countries or doing jobs, they should remain there. Those who are those who are on a transit, like they had a plan to come back because they have nothing to do in other countries, they can come. But those people who are doing already jobs in European countries or in Middle East, they shouldn't come to return to Pakistan, because this problem is not the problem of one country. This is the problem of the entire world. If you are coming to Pakistan, will you be safe? The answer is no. It will be more safe if you stay in that country, because you will use different kind of transportation from reaching to your home in a foreign country to your home country. So when you're using different kind of vehicles, so you are more vulnerable to catch this COVID-19. So I personally believe, and I request the people, those who are stuck up in other countries, they should remain there.
All right, Shafiq Saab, kindly stay with us. We will be, of course, talking about other important issues of the day. That includes also the Afghan government and the Afghan Taliban, and how the US is not happy with them. But after a short break, stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, the United States Defense Secretary Mark Esper has said that the Afghan Taliban are not living up to their commitments when it comes to the Afghan peace deal that was signed between the US and the Afghan Taliban in February this year. He is not happy because as far as the deal is concerned, there needed to be peace in the country so that the US forces could also in a phased manner remove and reduce the number of troops that are there in Afghanistan. But as far as that peace is concerned, Mark Esper says he isn't seeing much of that peace initiative continuing in Afghanistan. To talk about that, we've been joined by Dr. Adnan Sarwar Khan. He's a foreign affairs expert. Adnan Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Adnan Saab, the concern that has been shown by Mark Esper, how true do you feel it is? And do you feel that him showing concern is going to have any effect on the Afghan Taliban?
Well, thank you very much. Well, the point is that indeed, right at the moment, we can call this peace process at best a troubled peace process and a very fragile peace process. Keeping in mind the fact that the moment the deal was signed, the Taliban and the Afghan government forces started fighting once again. And though the Taliban, as per agreement, didn't attack since then, the US and coalition forces, but they have been repeatedly attacking the Afghan government forces, and by now it has been said that in an average it is 55 attacks a day since then for the last some days and a couple of months. So that's pretty bad. And in fact, you see, you would have already in picture the warnings given to the Taliban, first of all by General Scott Miller on the April 28th, that if Taliban didn't stop the attacks, the consequences would be really bad for them. And then Colonel Soni Leggett's warning letter also, direct letter to Mr. Zabiullah Mujahid, the Afghan spokesman, that they must stop the violence, otherwise there would be a clear response.
All right, now, Dr. Saab, I'd like to stop you there. When you talk of responses, when you talk of showing concern about a peace deal that the US has signed with the Afghan Taliban, do you feel that the Afghan Taliban pay any heed, in your point of view, sir, to all these concerns, all these letters that are being given and that are being shown by the US as far as the continuation of that peace process is concerned?
Right. Your question is very, very pertinent, I must say. Actually, it appears that the Taliban at the moment are not paying much heed to these warnings and pieces of advice by the United States. And let me give you one example that the latest warning of Colonel Soni Leggett was issued on probably 2nd of May, which was a Saturday, last Saturday. And then on Sunday, there was a massive bomb attack through a truck bomb attack in the southern Helmand province by the Taliban, in which some 7 security personnel got killed of the Afghan forces, and some people say more than that. But the point that you have just raised is very, very true and pertinent, because it appears that the Taliban are rest assured that as long as they would not be attacking the coalition forces, the United States might be issuing certain warnings as it has been now, clearly issuing the warnings, but they still would be going ahead with the drawdown. So this is one thing which is really hurting a lot the Afghan forces. And I must say here that in this deal, you see, now it is appearing that there was a massive flaw, that the Afghan government somehow was not taken on board.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Adnan Sarwar Khan, foreign affairs expert, talking to us about the flaw in the Afghan peace deal because of the Afghan government not being taken on board with it. How much do you agree with that, Shafiq Saab, that the Afghan government not being taken on board, whether it be the Afghan government that did not want to come on board or due to any other reservation that the Afghan Taliban had? Do you feel that it was very important to have the Afghan government on board since day one as far as the peace deal is concerned?
My understanding both the Taliban and the U.S. authorities did not take the Afghan government seriously, and the reason was very obvious because before the start of talks between the two parties, which took almost 18 months, Taliban were already holding or in possession of territory more than 50%. So where was the government of Afghanistan? They were just in Kabul and some major cities of the country. The remaining area, which was already remained under the control of the shadow government of Taliban. So the American authorities deemed it fit to talk directly to the Taliban, which are the direct they're in direct conflict with each other. I think that the decision was taken when they finalized the agreement. Then in the next step, there will be a negotiation between the Afghan government and the Taliban, which will be called intra-Afghan dialogue. And the process is still going on. But the big question is that the Afghan government is following what has been signed between the U.S. and the Taliban, and the answer is a no, because there was a compulsory demand from the Taliban that about 5,000 prisoners will be released.
And we remember how that also took place.
And so far, only 933 prisoners have been released, though the Afghan government say it is very difficult to release them on technical grounds. That is understandable. But the Afghan government and the Taliban, they have already initiated to talk to each other, and they will continue despite some.
All right, Shafiq Saab, these attacks, these almost 4,500 attacks that we've read at many places, and a certain number of attacks per day that the Afghan Taliban are continuing since the peace deal was signed between them and the US. Is this a pressure tactic on the Afghan government so that they release the prisoners?
Look, it is a very, very exaggerated number. 4,500 attacks in just 45 days. The answer is that the Taliban have killed more than that person as well or not? Like if there is a fire in the air and if it is called a strike by the Taliban, it is, really a non-serious claim, by the way.
All right.
There is a claim from the Afghan side, there is a claim also from the Taliban side as well. But the actual position is there are some serious attacks from the Taliban. Yes, there are. And just a few days back.
But is this a pressure tactic in your point of view, Shafiq Saab? I'd like to understand why they are attacking. Are they attacking because they want the prisoners to be released? Are they attacking because they are not satisfied with the peace deal? Or are they attacking because they want to take control on Afghanistan?
On the top is pressurizing tactics, just to pressurize the Afghan government, the Kabul government to release the Taliban prisoners as soon as possible. And they want to have their own terms for the negotiation. And currently we understand that there's a problem between Ashraf Ghani, who is the president of the country, and the Abdullah. He also claimed that he's the president of Afghanistan. So there is a problem within the Afghan politics, and Taliban are taking advantage of that. So these are some of the attacks. Definitely, particularly, I will talk about Helmand 4 days or 3 days back. It was a serious attack, but the remaining attacks are really very small.
All right, Shafiq Saab, thank you very much to have given us your point of view. A lot of questions remain as far as this peace is concerned. Are the Afghan Taliban happy? Are they not? Is the Afghan government happy? Is it not? How is it going to go forward? This very important peace deal that took 18 months to be signed by the US and the Afghan Taliban, a very important peace deal nevertheless for the entire region and for Afghanistan in particular. Let's see how that pans out as well. But there's another thing that is panning out since a lot of months, and that is the continued aggression, violence in Indian occupied Kashmir, and something that has spiraled to other parts of India as well, especially targeting minorities that are Muslims. It all started since many decades in Indian occupied Kashmir, of course, we all know that. And a lot of the countries of the world are turning a blind eye to that. But this has now spiraled to other parts of India as well, where the Muslim minorities are being targeted, and whether it be not giving them food, not giving them the necessary how should I say, the different needs and the different things that they can have as a citizen of India that calls itself the largest democracy. So, to talk about more and how that is affecting, and also the violations across the line of control, we've been joined by Brigadier Salim Bhatt Sahab. He's a defense analyst. Bhatt Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Sir, the violations across the line of control, targeting of Muslim minorities in Indian occupied Kashmir and other parts of India, and then putting the blame on Pakistan. This is nothing new, what we've heard, but it has taken a nastier turn in the last few months. How do you see this progressing in the days and the weeks to come?
Thank you very much, Umar Bhatt, kind of through calling me. I fully agree with you. India has followed this strategy of keeping the line of control and the working boundary alive by committing hundreds and hundreds of ceasefire violations. This has been their strategy so that on the one hand they can continue to pile up a lot of allegations on Pakistan, which are absolutely ridiculous, keeping in view that on every yard along the line of control they have a soldier standing, duly backed up by in a lot of tiers. They have 1 million military and paramilitary troops deployed in Kashmir, and despite that, if they put allegations on Pakistan that there are certain people crossing, that is the admission of their absolute military failure on one part. Secondly, it helps them to unleash more and more atrocities on the people inside the valley of Kashmir, as has been witnessed by the whole world, has been endorsed by United States Commission on Religious Intolerance. It has been endorsed by the European Parliament delegation. It has been UK Parliament delegation, and the UN Human Rights Commission has endorsed that India is targeting Muslim all over India. And
but this is something that I really fail to understand. But there's one thing that you take out statements, you condemn India, but all these words are not being translated into actions. Mohammad Abdullah Gul Sahab, senior analyst, also joins us. Abdullah Gul Sahab, thank you very much, first of all, to have joined us. Abdullah Gul Sahab, our Prime Minister has posted something on Twitter. He has warned the world about India's continuing efforts to find a pretext for a false flag operation against Pakistan. Not the first time that he talks about a false flag operation that India is planning against Pakistan. Our foreign minister has also pointed it out time and again. Why can't India understand the dynamics? Why can't India understand what it is doing is wrong? Is it trying to be the bully that it has been since the last few decades?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much, Umar Khalid Bhatt. Actually, India is disoriented. They are not understanding that the world is now witnessing their heinous crimes and their malicious designs against Pakistan and their own people inside India. Forget about just Indian occupied Kashmir, but rest of the India is also paying the price of the jingoism by Prime Minister Modi and his cronies. I think India, because now they have been cornered, and in the United States there are lots of voices earlier on when Prime Minister Imran Khan took them on. So after that we have witnessed that the media, the international media, started criticizing and exploring, the atrocities by the Indian military and their government.
All right, let's talk about the Indian military, Gul Sahab. The Indian Army Chief General Narawan alleges that while India was not only helping our own citizens but the rest of the world by sending medical teams and exporting medicine during the coronavirus crisis, Pakistan was only exporting terror. Your take on this comment?
Well, I can only say that, I can laugh on it because this is something ridiculous. This has been alleged by earlier General B.S. Raju, who is the commander of 15th Corps over there, which are responsible for the Kashmir this operation. So I think earlier, if you remember, that there was another general who was the corps commander of this specific corps. He was refused the visa of China and Canada on the basis of human rights involvement in the human rights violations in Kashmir. So this is India, and naturally, when Americans are saying that they are responsible for saffron terrorism, the CIA is taking them, calling them the saffron terrorists. So India is actually, what I have said, that they are disoriented. They are not understanding that their old theory is coming to an end because they are being exposed fully. And definitely 940 over violations they have committed just this year. So this is something Pakistan has, Foreign Office has clearly indicated that, okay, you are welcome, any foreign body can come and they can go and have a look by themselves. And earlier, if you remember, after Uri attack, what happened that Pakistan ISPR arranged a trip of the foreign delegates to, and especially the defense attaches to that specific area, India, Pakistani side of Kashmir. So this, what happened over there, that all over there, they went there and they found out that there was nothing of this sort. So all the surprise attack from them and so-called their, negativism against Pakistan is not working for the timing.
All right,
Pakistan
Brigadier Salim Bhatt Sahab, I'd like to have your point of view on this. Despite Pakistan showing different countries across the world of Pakistan's stance on how transparent Pakistan is as far as those allegations that are being put on it across the border. Why is the world, why are the important countries, I mean, we've talked about the statements that you said, why isn't there any concrete action being taken by the EU, by the United Kingdom, by the United States, by the United Nations as far as these atrocities being committed by India is concerned? Your take?
I think the answer is very simple. It has to be seen in terms of the bilateral economic relation that India has with all the countries in Europe, with America, the defense ties that they have, how much money India is spending in order to boost their economy. For example, during 2019, 71.5 billion US dollars have been spent by India on purchase of the defense equipment, which is much more than the overall total budget of Pakistan in a year. So, in real politics, the economic interest, it always prevails. The diplomatic statements coming from various parts of the world, all right, they sound very nice to our ears, but not to the ears of the Kashmiris or the Muslims all over India who are being targeted by Modi government, by the saffron brigade that they have, and ironically now the armed forces and the paramilitary stand saffronized, and they are exactly saying and doing what BJP government and RSS have been doing all over India. So my point of view is that if we want to see any physical change, then Pakistan, instead of only relying on the diplomatic statements and feeling happy about it, we got to convert into an economic herd. And how can we do that? As India has a lot of diaspora and a lot of people serving abroad in Europe and America and all parts of the world, Pakistan diaspora is also there in various parts of the world. So within Pakistan, within Middle Eastern countries, Arab countries where we have millions of Indians working, you need to organize a very systematic boycott, social boycott as well as economic boycott of India. Stop buying Indian products. Anything that has a label of India on it, don't buy it. And promote and tell your friends and your families, all your groups, social groups, that India is the country committing gross human rights violation against Muslims in India. They are orchestrating a genocide of Muslims, as Israel has been doing in Gaza and the Western Bank. So India is just copying that. So in order to hurt them economically, we have to galvanize our efforts And we got to make sure that all friendly countries, or more specifically the Muslim countries, and not only the Muslim countries, the non-Muslim countries, where we have a lot of diaspora, we've got to organize this thing. And only then some sense is likely to prevail on the Indian
All right,
government.
only then some sense will prevail if we can galvanize our efforts in order to have a social and economic boycott of India. Thank you very much, Brigadier Salim Bhatt Saab, to have joined us, defense analyst, talking to us about the pinpointing of different allegations, baseless allegations that are coming from the Indian side. Abdullah Gul Saab, how can we put on economic or social boycott? How can we implement different measures for social and economic boycott on India when the different countries, the important countries around the world are not really willing to do that?
Umar Khalid Sahab, it's not a very difficult task. I think Pakistan is already doing that, and whatever you feel, you hear from the Western side, and specifically, if I talk about, the development 2 or 3 days ago by the American side. So I think that now the trap is being tightened on the Indian side, but at the same time, yes, I tend to agree with Brigadier Saab that Israel and Indians are very blue-eyed to the imperial powers, but at the same time, Pakistan is very important. And I think the government of Pakistan and the establishment of Pakistan, they do understand that Americans, they do require us on their way back from Afghanistan. And Pakistan soil is to be, it needs to be adjusted against what exactly Pakistan wants in Kashmir. At the same time, Indians also should understand that I think their military has already understood, but their political will is not there. Political will is not supporting the military.
You say the Indian military has understood. Have they really understood? I mean, seeing the statements that are coming out from the Indian military, have they really understood, or is it just face saving?
I'm not talking about the military leadership. The military leadership is, of course, we should not talk about the military leadership, but what about the normal troops?
All right.
The normal troops they have lost the war, actually, mentally and physically. They have got tired over there. They cannot fight a nation. The nation is determined. The indigenous efforts of Kashmiris are, they have cornered the Indians. Despite of their military might, despite of their economic might, whatever they want to do, the more they clutch the sand, the quicker it will go out of their hand. I think this is the time that India should understand that if they want economic ties and if they want access to Central Asia, it has to be through Pakistan. And Pakistan
Gul Saab, you say that India needs to understand, and it needs to understand the implications of all that they are doing. But on the other hand, at the same time, they are putting all their allegations that they can on Pakistan. Whenever something happens, they pinpoint everything on Pakistan, whether it be the previous false flag operations or these recent allegations that they say that Pakistan is trying to infiltrate one way or the other different allegations that are coming now and again and will continue to do so. Will India ever understand? So this is what I really want to understand as well from somebody who understands politics in India as you.
Well, India will never understand because for the time being, the BJP government is being supported by the narrative of the nation. Unfortunately, even those who are against the BJP policies, but on Kashmir and against Pakistan, they are on one page. This is something great. I think it's a dilemma. But at the same time, if we put on the pressure on the world forums like OIC, like this United Nations, and of course America and the European Union, which we are trying our utmost. But at the same time, it's a long process. It is not something which we could expect.
But Gul Saab, it's a long process. You say that, but it has been decades since the people are undergoing miseries in Indian occupied Kashmir. How much longer is that going to continue? Because the world is now, of course, also possessed by this pandemic that is the coronavirus. Isn't India taking undue advantage of that as well?
Of course, India is taking undue advantage. That is why the General MM Narawan is saying that it is Pakistan who is violating and they are the ones who are sending teams. And what are they talking about? They cannot control the situation in their own country and they're sending teams abroad. They should take care of their own people, first of all. When the things are already, due to COVID-19, things are already out of control in India. So what are they talking about? Nonsense, utter bunkum, I think. But at the same time, it is their old policy that they always put the blame on Pakistan. But this time, I think the social media activists in Pakistan and all over the world are supporting Pakistan's narrative. And the government of Pakistan, especially the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who is, before becoming Prime Minister of Pakistan, he was an international figure. So he
Exactly.
holds
And so
space
his
in
voice
such.
matters, Abdullah Gulsab. That is something that is very important in this day and age. Now, you talked about the old policy of India, that it is still continuing in this day and age. How can we, in your point of view, if I were to ask you in 3 phrases or 3 pointers that are the most important to you, how can we change that old policy of India, whether it be through a regional change in politics or an international change in politics or pressure of some kind? What needs to be done? What's your take?
I think, first of all, we should be very clear that, okay, if they are not behaving, then they won't be able to get any sort of concessions in in accessing to Central Asia, especially with the TAPI and CASA 1000 projects. Simply say no to them. Because if they are violating all the international treaties, why Pakistan is bound to do that? So Pakistan should act in the same in the same manner, I would say. Number one. Number two is that definitely the nuclear is a deterrent, and not just the nuclear. Pakistan's conventional warfare, I think we are far ahead and far superior, and India has already witnessed it on couple of occasions. This is something which needs to be told to the world that yes, Pakistan can even go up to any extent. Do not push against the line. This is number two. Number three, that Pakistan should keep on forcing on United Nations resolutions. If India is so much, interested that, and they are saying that they are claimants that, Kashmir belongs to them, then why don't they go to United Nations and take all those, matters which were taken by none other than their Prime Minister Nehru? Then they
Thank you
should
very
say,
much. Thank you very much, Abdullah Gulsab. Thank you very much for having highlighted those 3 points that I asked you from. It's very important in this day and age to understand whether it be people in Pakistan who want to know what all this policy is all about, whether people across the border in India, whether it be the public in India, that also needs to be more aware. And before the whole country, that is our neighbor, could implode as a result of the different measures that the government is taking in different parts of India against the minority, especially the Muslims. Time to rethink strategy. Allah Hafiz.